I was doing sprints on these duathlons. And then all of a sudden I went to middle distance. And then I went right to 70.3 duathlon in the middle or Olympic distance. And then I went to the world, the longest duathlon in the world. People were just like, how are you doing that? But I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. Your training, me able to complete this race, I wouldn't have been able to put that all together.
Welcome to the Athlete's Compass podcast. Each week, renowned sports scientist and founder of Athletica AI, Dr. Paul Laursen, athlete, coach, and sports scientist Marjaana Rakai, and coach and cyclist Paul Warloski discuss training, racing, and improving your health and fitness. Get ready for your journey to peak performance. Hello and welcome to the Athlete's Compass podcast, where we navigate training, fitness, and health for everyday athletes. Today we have a special guest, one of our everyday athletes, Allan Egbert from Ohio. Allan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome to see you guys.
We'll start off asking you kind of like, what's your athletic background? What initially got you into some endurance sports?
I've kind of always been an athlete, so I did very well in high school, and pole vaulting is where I made it to a state. And then after that, I love to do some fighting, as boxing and stuff, and martial arts. And then it got into doing triathlons with the canoe bike and run. I was doing a series of those with friends. And from there, I had a mixture of stuff I was doing. And then, I was very active, always loved competition, and I loved to the training, just working out with friends and stuff. So that always kept me. As soon as someone says they're doing something that was interesting to me, I was like, oh, I'd like to try that. So I would get in with that.
So how long have you been doing triathlons now, like swim bike runs?
2018, I started to, I hooked up with Matt Ambus, who is a triathlon guy here. He's also athletic. As soon as I had permission, because I had a neck surgery was done, and but as soon as I had permission, I was allowed to bike, run, and swim. I caught up with Matt and asked him if I could start working out with him. So that's 2018. I started to do swimming, and my run was 5K. I had to learn to run 13 miles, and that was 5 miles back down, 7 miles, and I kept working my way all the way up to I was able to do 13. From there, I started. I was just hitting the races, but my swimming, I never found time to put my swimming in. So I think a couple of years, I finally said, you know what? I'm not improving in anything. I said, I'm just going to stick with the bike and run. And even one year, I just told him, I said, I'm just going to do all running events just so I can focus on something. But then all of a sudden I said, let me try this duathlon. And all of a sudden I started to see my bike and my run started getting some benefit.
So you went from like more explosive sports like pole vaulting, kickboxing, boxing into triathlon with the help of a friend, sounds like. and now a month ago, you did the World Championships in duathlon in Switzerland, correct?
I did.
Wow. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yes. Story behind that is, to me, I was doing sprints on these duathlons, and then all of a sudden I went to middle distance, and then I went right to a 70.3 duathlon in the middle or Olympic distance, and then I went to the world, the longest duathlon in the world, and people were just like, how are you doing that? How are you just? I don't know, because everyone I went to was a new challenge for me. But I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, without the your training, me able to complete this race. I wouldn't have been able to put that all together, because I was kind of in control of my own programming. I got done with that race, And I was standing there going, well, that's not bad. That was a good race. I tended to slow down. I slowed down a little bit. I ran into some issues, but I got done and I was good. I've been in other races when I hit the finish line, I had to sit down. I need to sit down and no one talk to me. I'm exhausted. And but I did good, and I underestimated. Every time I look at my program, I was like, now how am I going to go 120 miles and he's got me working out for an hour? Or I would say, and did not understand the whole concept of putting the little pieces together and to getting the full picture. So it was pretty neat when I finished that race.
So maybe a little more, this is super cool, Allan. Maybe a little more context. What's, for everyone listening, what are the distances of the Zolfinger race in the duathlon?
6.2. And then we did 96 miles on the bike. And then I ran again for 18 miles.
For people listening, it's like an Ironman, right? Like in terms of the distances, it's even a bit bigger by the sounds of it. How did you find Athletica to start? Like, how did you kind of come across us?
Matt, my friend Matt, was already training with you guys for 6 months, and he kept saying, "Allan, I like these guys. This is working," because he's tried other programs, and I've been writing my own programs. Whatever, I signed up in December for this race. Because I went to nationals and qualified. So by January, I was like, Matt, I said, I need a coach. This is real deal. This is a legit race. He said, try you guys. And I said, I got a couple other coaches calling me. They're wanting me to coach them. Or want to coach me. And, but they were wanting $360 every 2 weeks. You had to have a down payment. You had to wait. And they were telling me, and I was like, guys, I'm trying to get an airplane flight. I said, I can't compete. I can't compete with that. I said, so let me look. I'm going to look somewhere else. And then they pretty much, some of them downsized it to a piece of paper and says, follow this paper, and then this will cost you this much. And I was like, Matt, I'm going to go with you. So I followed. He hooked me up, and then I started to. I got involved with you guys. Wow. And, that's when these things come up, you don't think about it until all of a sudden you're like, now I'm pretty serious. I need a coach.
What do you pay attention to on the platform, Allan? Like what helps you out? Like, is it some of the comments that the AI coach is giving, or is it just the overtraining warnings or anything like that kind of stands out in terms of what helps you navigate your day-to-day?
I had a warning setting up on mine all the time, and I ignored it because it says, you're running too fast. You're running too fast for this level. We need to increase you to go to the next level. Well, I was like, I'm already got 12 hours a week for this, and now you want to move me to like the 20 hours a week. And I was like, I'm just going to stay where I'm at, and maybe I need to push myself a little bit more, but keep the hours down. I did not want to go more hours into my workout, because 15 hours a week was 12 to 15 is I think I asked the program to set me up for. So I went with that, and I did not want. And every time it came up, you should advance your running. And when I looked into that, it was asking, basically I seen it was more hours, or another half hour or an hour through the week that I would have to run. So I was like, I think I'm good where I'm at. Other than that, the other ones, when it says that, hey, they would adjust. The program would come in and it would adjust. I would look at it Monday. I would scan everything. I would say, okay, this is what they're going to have me do. And then all of a sudden I would go do it, and I'd come back and the program says, oh, you worked out at this level. Now here, we backed you off 30 minutes. I was like, wow, I didn't know you backed me off 30 minutes. And at first I wasn't catching on to that. So the program kept modifying how much effort I was putting into it to how much I needed to put out. And at the end of the week, you can look at your chart at the bottom, your miles, your hours, your fatigue. And when I first look at that, started with you guys, I was like, what does that mean? What is that going to do for me? I mean, and as the months went on, I started seeing the numbers, and I started, hitting the numbers better. And now if I didn't want to hit and I was really tired, I would get my 45 minutes in, but my level of intensity might change, because I don't know how many times when I was just sitting there at the house at the kitchen table and my wife would say, "Are you leaving yet?" I said, "Yes, I gotta go run." "You've been there for a half hour staring at the door." "I know it." I just I want to do it, but I don't want to leave the house. And then she says, "Just go run for an hour. Just go run for a mile. Just run down, hit the gate, and come back. And you should be good. That's all you need to do." And she knows every time I do that, I come back 8 miles later and I go, I felt better after that mile.
Isn't it the hardest part is to just leave, like get out the door?
Get out
sometimes.
the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I think we hear this with many successful athletes on Athletica. Very steep learning curve to begin with, but once you get there and you get through that learning, that 1 or 2 months, you kind of off to the races, right? But yeah, notwithstanding, it's certainly a challenging process in the beginning. Thank you so much for articulating that, Allan, because I think it's a really important message that all of our athletes, kind of need to take, especially if they're, contemplating or considering Athletica. A story like yours is really important for them to appreciate, that you might not have it on day one, right? But, over the week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4, all of a sudden things are starting to make a little bit more sense. And then 2-3 months on, it's really making sense. And now you're starting to see how the pieces of the plan are going to set you up for that.
When you achieve something big and something that you've been working so hard for months at end, and then when it's over, it's hard mentally. It's just like, well, now what? So I'm in the same boat with you. Gotta find a way to reinvent myself.
Yeah, and you got a beautiful race. I kind of watched you on the phone the whole time when you was competing. So I was like,
Yeah,
she is moving. So
Thank you. So can you walk us through your typical training week?
Because of work, I'm always working 10 hours. But when I get done with work, I would come home, even though I have to go to the Y and teach cardio classes. And then I got grandkids who want to train, want to be duathlon. We want to do duathlons too. And so I got all that going on, and I have to come home and fit a workout in. Pretty much I come home and I've got to get on my plan and set up a workout program, not set it up, but start working on it. So I'm going to go run. I'm going to bike first. And at the time I'm biking indoors. So I have to come in, get my bike in, and then I have to go out and run, because the bike is, you want to do that when it's a little daylight out. So it's on the computer or it's outside, and then I have to go run. And most of the time I just run in the dark, put my glow up outfit on and just go run in the dark. I just knew one thing. I had a mission and I had to get it done. And I was so worried about racing. I just, whatever the phone said, go do. Now I'm like, let's do this one Wednesday. And, I didn't do that bike. Well, I'm going to do him Friday. And then I don't do it Friday. I move it to Saturday. I'm going to do it Saturday. I do that now. And even in my watch, I download them now. Mm-hmm. I wasn't downloading my workouts before. I would write them down and then go out and do the workouts and try to watch my watch. Okay, I get 30 seconds here. And then I would take off again.
That push feature is so handy, Allan? Like, it's so cool when you just, that session just lands on your watch, you press start, and it just guides you with whatever you have to do, eh? Like, that's just so convenient. It's like the coach is right there with you.
Yep. And I've been using that lately. I'm telling you, I stick it with my heart rate, and it'll run by my heart rate, or I can go by the pace. So if I do the heart rate, it says heart rate's too low, pick it up. And I start picking it up, or he'll say too high and bring it down. And oh yeah, that is Matt used it way before I did. He kept saying down. I don't have time to do that stuff. But for some reason it got real easy because I clicked on, and there it was. It downloaded it, started putting it on my Garmin, and now every time I hit my Garmin, it shows up.
Sounds like you're getting more confident in using all the tech. So that's awesome. You mentioned something about teaching cardio classes at the Y. What do you teach?
It's cardio kickboxing class.
Oh,
And
cool.
I started that in '98, and I used to teach 3 times a week. But now I teach, I let someone else teach the other 2 classes, and I teach every Monday. It's a full body workout. I usually do, my every class is different. I'll do TRX to steps to weights to floor work. I even throw your guys' stuff in there. We're all swinging legs, doing single hops, jumping up and down. And says, this is good for me. This is good for you guys. And
Oh, that's amazing.
yes. So
that's amazing. So do you record that and put it in your training diary as well?
I want to, and I never do that. But
you have to. It all counts.
Yes.
It does. Yeah.
You know what?
That's your S&C workout. Those are your plyometrics, mate.
Yeah. So usually I go the next door. As soon as the class is done, I go the next door, and then I start doing my my hip flexors ability, and then do the single leg squats and jumps. Yeah.
So Allan, we you have 3 coaches here in front of you. What questions do you have for us? How can we help you with your next adventure?
If you guys had I just did a race yesterday. I did a 5K race. My sister was putting one on in Van Wert, and so I got to go over there and do the 5K race. I was thinking, I said, man, if I could have my watch have a program where it should tell me every mile that, hey, you're going to PR. So let's set you at a 6:58 the first mile, 6:57, and then and I was off I go. And but other than that, stuff like that where it says, hey, this is a race. What's your goal? What's your agenda? Stay on track.
We are actually working in Athletica more towards that pacing projection or pacing guidance, race prediction. And a lot of this, we had, a couple podcasts ago, we had Dr. Andrea Zignoli, our back-end, AI scientist for Athletica. And he, along with another former guest, Paul, is our another Paul. He actually designs our Garmin app, and I'm not sure if you've seen him on the forum before as well. Andrea and Paul are actually working towards like a prediction and pacing guidance alongside the Workout Reserve concept. Have you downloaded the Workout Reserve app?
I have not.
Again, it's one of those advanced features for sure. But I know Marjaana uses it, and I know I use it. I quite like it for it's almost kind of like a battery feature where it's like you can kind of see how much is left in your tank, right? So imagine if you knew how much battery you had for something like a 5K, right? And then you could kind of milk that battery down just right so that you hit 0 or negative just as you cross the finish line, right? So it's we're actually working on a feature like that for pacing. So it's a really good comment that you made, Allan.
You guys updated. I've seen a couple of updates that was on there that you guys were saying, hey, and I can't think of exactly what it is, but a couple of updates have come up that I was like, oh, I should look into that and read to see what that's about.
Good. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this is really one of the key themes is that, Athletica is a complex product, and there's, is almost like, how long is a piece of string? Well, you can go so deep into Athletica, but there's another area where you could potentially work on for yourself in the future is download the Workout Reserve, get your head around that and see how that optimizes both your training and potentially even your racing as well, because it's a real-time app, just like the Garmin app, where you're actually getting that training and it's keeping you in the zones. the workout reserve, actually, like I use it in my bike training all the time, and I actually can see in any given effort how much, ultimately how much energy I've got in my tank for any given effort. So I find it really useful for making further gains in my own fitness.
You can also look at the running pace profile, and you can take a look at that, and that'll give you an idea also of what you've done in the past and what your profile is now. And you can target a 5K and say, this is what I can handle for sure. Maybe you can go a little bit more.
Okay. So I pretty much drained myself in that 5K because it was a sprint. Pretty much I sprinted for 3 miles. So I would like to know. I'm going to look and see if there's a battery, how much fatigue that I used in that, because I did very well at that. I knew I was going to do good because people were asking me. Everybody's wanting to know, what are you going to do? Are you going to win this? So I'm not a sprinter. I'm a long endurance runner. But I told them the day before I did 3 miles tempo pace, and then I did 2 miles at threshold, and then a mile cool down. And I said I hit 7 minutes on both of them threshold. So I'm thinking I'm going to hit 777s today, and I kind of beat that. I had a 6:45 in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, I like how you used your recent experience to create your racing strategy.
How is your fueling in the race for the Zolfinger? I mean, that's a big, long race. How did fueling go for you on the day?
This goes with it. My energy level must have been, I must have been pumped because it felt like it only took me 2 hours. Now imagine I'm out there for over 9 hours. 9 hours of 5.5, 6 hours. I was up and down the mountains, and then I come back and I have to run 18. The whole time I come off that bike, I already knew mentally what I had to do. Park my bike, and it's raining, just pouring down. My hands were wrinkled up, and my bucket with the gear in it's full of water. And I didn't even think of it. My towel is soaked, and I'm trying to get down, and I'm taking my helmet off, putting my shoes on. And everything has to stay in the bucket. They got rules there. They're very strict. So I'm putting my wet shoes on, and I put my running hat, water's pouring out of it, shaking it off, put my running hat on. I run 18. And during this whole thing, I have 18 miles to run. And it just felt like a half-hour run. The time I got done, I was like, there was no way I was out there for 9.5, almost 10 hours. I'm out there competing, and it did not look that way. It did not feel that way at all. So I'm like, how is that? How is that? I was out there competing for that long, and it did not feel like I was even out there that long at all. And I'm like, it must be in the training. It must be because I was just trucking along, just moving.
Hey, we love hearing that, Alan. That's just music to our ears.
So, Alan, tell us more about why are you doing these crazy adventures and so many other new adventures ahead. What is your why?
I think I just love the competition, or finding other people to compete with, and we all have the same mindset. And the journey, really, I have more fun finding the journey to put things together to make myself into this athlete that's going to compete towards a certain goal. That it's just fun to do. The more I think about it, I have more stories about my workouts than I do the race. And usually other people talk about the race, and then I'm like, oh, but we did this and this, and the group of us all went. And I think the why would be more, it's just something fun to do, and time flies. I really like hitting these journeys, or these missions. Basically, I've got a mission to go get prepared for this race.
One of the things that I'm into, Alan, is just wellness and wholeness and longevity and lifespan, health span. And one of the things in health in this whole area that we know brings health and happiness to an individual is a sense of purpose. And I think, you've hinted at the fact that this gives you a sense of purpose. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's what I'm feeling a little bit in what you're saying here.
It's what I do, and I've already got some other races, kind of is going to give me a little bit of a challenge, and I'm trying to get ready for them. So yeah, again, like you said, it's something that I really like to do.
Alan, what role does nutrition play in your training regimen? Do you follow a specific diet or have any nutritional strategies that work well for you?
I do. Pretty much, I eat the same foods for 30 years. I eat the same foods, and it was oatmeal at 9 o'clock, and got rid of oatmeal. Then I had eggs. Then it switched to two boiled eggs. But I meal prep every week. It's meal prep time. I do steaks and chicken thighs, and I do 12 chicken thighs, 2, 3 steaks, and then I cut them up and I put them all in my containers. And then I'll switch where I would do sweet potato. Avocados are always welcome, throwing avocados in there. Then I'll switch and put some rice in there. Then when it's race time, I will do more rice. I've been meal prepping for a long time, and every Sunday I get the grill out and I get all my foods all prepped up and set it all up in the refrigerator. I have a gallon of water at work that I keep track of. I have Celtic salt that I put in there, so it makes my own electrolytes. I've been doing that for
That's
a long
great.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, and everything you've mentioned is pretty much is all whole food too, right, Alan? So we're big proponents of that. Getting things from Mother Earth, and you've mentioned that there, and especially with with steak, we know the density and the micronutrient density within that. The B vitamins, the iron. It's all kind of coming with those. We've spoken that on other podcasts as well before with Mickey and others. So yeah, so vital, and it's obviously working for you, Alan. So it's really good. So this is we've heard this before with other everyday athletes, but I reflect on my own journey as well. And Alan had this here, but we might be starting at one point, and we look to some of these races, and it could be anything. It could just be me a 5K race, it could be a Zolfinger Ironman, something like that, and they're out of reach. They're physical barriers at that point, and they're mental barriers too. But you just do, you have like one goal and say, okay, I'm just going to get out there and figure out a way that I can get my head around doing that. And once once that physical barrier is broken, the mental barrier is broken as well, and we can do anything. When it's nice to have some company along the way. We need coaches and now programs like Athletica to show us the way. Of course, with Athletica, even with coaching process too, right? If we there's a steep learning curve, and we spoke, Alan spoke a lot about that today, where if the getting in there and seeing some of these big terms, we're well and truly aware of that in Athletica, and it's something we have to do better on. But it's worth your time in educating yourself, going through that educational process, and so sticking with things after 1 or 2 weeks. And I'm not sure, you didn't mention this, Alan, but we have an excellent forum as well, and you can get a lot of help on the forum. Paul, Marjaana, myself, we're all there on the forum helping people out whenever we can to kind of help them along in this process. Even the Garmin push feature Alan mentioned too was really handy, where guidance on your everyday session can be right there on your wrist or in your cockpit of your computer. So pretty handy there too. And yeah, and then once you've done all this, Alan mentioned, this becomes part of your identity, which loops back to being, coming back to the whole lifespan, health span, wellness philosophy becomes part of your identity, and it's your sense of purpose in life. And that's something we, it makes you happy and feel really good with your life as we go through it. So just a great podcast, Allan. And thank you so much for sharing all of those great points with us and the Athletica family.
Yes, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Allan. Appreciate your time. That is all for this week. Join us next week on the Athletes Compass podcast. Ask your training questions in the comments or on our social media. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd appreciate it if you could take a moment to subscribe on YouTube and your podcast listening stations and give us a 5-star review. For more information or to schedule a consultation with Paul, Marjaana, or myself, check the links in the show notes. For Marjaana Rakai, Allan Egbert, and Dr. Paul Laursen, I am Paul Warloski, and this has been the Athletes Compass podcast. Thank you for listening.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Athletes Compass podcast, your North Star through the sometimes complicated world of training for your endurance sport. We appreciate your comments and training questions and your 5-star reviews. For a deeper dive into the science of endurance sports, listen to the Training Science podcast and check out the adaptive AI training platform Athletica.ai. Thanks for listening.